It's great to be here in Nottingham, just up the road from Leicester, where the remains of the last English king killed in battle, Richard III, were recently found underneath the council car park. Not one of our favourite kings, and a man today who sounds particularly unwise in crying, a horse, my kingdom for a horse." Almost as unwise as George Osborne crying, Plan A, always Plan A for austerity." Last time I was addressing conference, I'd been leader of the Green Party for 4 days. And those 4 days had been such a media whirl that I tended to end each conversation by saying, "Right, where's the next journalist now?" The 5 or so months since then have been a similar, if more varied whirl, though I would say I do feel a little bit more settled in. I've been to Bristol to support our excellent mayoral campaign there. In Lancaster, I spoke at the University of Lancaster at lunchtime and the University of Cumbria in the evening. I was delighted to be in Margate, helping the Isle of Thanet Green Party get off the ground at a rousing 70-strong meeting at the truly memorable Walpole Bay Hotel. Do check it out if you're there. In Manchester, I was interviewed on community radio just before they switched to their weekly slot out of Jamaica, a nice international touch. And in Oxford, I went along to open their really spectacularly good festive green fair. Last week, I was in Cambridge at a 50-strong public meeting on a winter Friday's evening. That was quite an achievement. And last week, I was also, another evening, enjoying a lovely Indian buffet with the Surrey Greens. There's been a wide range of media too. The Any Questions Buckinghamshire audience, which cheered roundly at everything from the living wage and decent benefits to my simply saying, "I am a feminist," was a really delightful surprise. On the Andrew Marr show, I got 4 minutes to explain how we deal with Britain's economic and environmental crises. 4 minutes. Then Jeremy Hunt got 30 minutes on the NHS. I'd really love to have swapped that around. All that travelling has left me with one absolute certainty. Wherever I go and wherever I give a speech, calling for the renationalisation of the railways, I'll get a great response from the audience. What I also find when talking about the renationalisation of the railways, I have a standing part in my speech that goes, "Insert today's travel disaster story here." I'm very seldom failed. Some have suggested that all of this travelling and speaking around the country sounds glamorous. I have to tell you that very often it isn't. Just this week, I was having a quick chat with BBC Radio Coventry and Warwickshire drive time programme, and that was in between my train getting into Coventry and a talk at the University of Warwick. So I needed to be somewhere quiet, which is how I came to be crouched down between 2 buildings in the Transport Police car park, using them to block the sound of the trains on one side and the sounds of the buses on the other. It certainly wasn't glamorous. I probably looked more than a bit suspicious, actually. We are, however, as we've already heard, going to have some serious glamour at this conference, at a grand party tomorrow night. You've probably already noticed in The Guardian's extensive report on Monday, or in your conference pack, that this conference marks the Green Party's 40th birthday. In fact, Elizabeth Whitebread and her team of volunteers are organising a whole year of celebrations. Do talk to them if you've got some colourful memories that you'd like to record for posterity. And don't miss, after the grand dinner, tomorrow night's party. Darren Johnson, down the front, I know has been working hard selecting the soundtrack. And I suspect that he might also be taken to the dance floor himself, this time without a certain Boris to spoil the pictures. That anniversary left me with an obvious temptation today to speculate where might the Green Party be in 40 years' time? I hope that I will still be able to come along as a proud spectator, leaning on my walking stick, watching our latest Green Prime Minister outline how Britain, having long cut carbon emissions to less than 10% of 2009 levels, is exceeding its targets for cutting other resource use, is vastly improving its soil, air and water quality, how inequality has reached new record lows, with the top salaries of every organisation in the country no more than 5 times the lowest paid. And here we are in 40 years' time, listening to this Green Prime Minister talk about how outsourcing has ended. The neoliberal experiment so clearly failed, and we've got decent minimum wage standards and contract conditions ending the obscenity of 0 hours contracts and long-term casual employment. I could go on, for it's important that we present a positive image of how we want to reshape Britain in a jobs-rich, low-carbon future. But it's also pressing to highlight just how wrong the current direction of the coalition government is, and how the Labour Party is failing to be in the effective opposition that the country desperately needs. Before I do that, however, there's another tragic anniversary that I have to highlight, a 10-year anniversary. For it's a little more than 10 years since that great 2 million strong anti-war protest took to the streets of London, and a little less than 10 years since the Labour government utterly ignored the views of those people and millions of others and started the Iraq War. A Guardian survey last week showed that 55% of Britons agreed that the London marches were right, and that a war sold on a false prospectus delivered little but bloodshed. We know that the Iraqi people are still struggling and dying as a result of that war. Yet Ed Miliband, who has apologised for the Blair government's immigration policy, has failed to apologise for the decision to take Britain into an unjustifiable bloody war. We're still waiting for Sir John Chilcot's report into the Iraq War. That's one landmark that we can expect future historians to look back on this year. Another may well be even bigger, a turning point. What I'll hazard a guess the historians will recall this year as is the year the British people said no more. Up and down the country, I found groups and individuals saying no more. No more to poverty wages, people working full-time, yet unable to meet the cost of even the basic necessities. People stuck in part-time jobs they can't survive on, unable to get more hours. People are saying no more to child poverty, children who go to school hungry, children who don't have a proper winter coat, children who can't go on that school trip that their peers will be talking about for weeks. People are saying no more to shivering pensioners, shivering under layers of quilts in drafty cold homes that they can't afford to eat. People are saying no more, and we in the Green Party say no more. People are increasingly saying no more to 0 hours contracts, which trap workers in continuous uncertainty. Will they get 4 hours of work this week, or 40? Will they be able to pay the rent? Will they be able to buy food? People are saying no more to workfare. The unemployed being forced into such educational roles as stacking shelves for Poundland, for not just low wages, but no wages at all. And people are increasingly saying no more to the demonisation of benefit recipients. They recognise that nearly all of us are only one medical incident, one traffic crash, away from disability, from depending on the support of the state. And none of us can be sure that our job is certain, that we won't find ourselves applying increasingly desperately for jobs where employers, getting hundreds or even thousands of applications, don't even reply to that application that you slaved over. Now, one group of people who are very firmly saying no more are the occupiers of the University of Sussex in Brighton, who I visited this week. Now, the people in the front rows, you might be able to see it on the back, can see that I'm wearing a little yellow triangle. Rectangle, there you go, little yellow rectangle. That's the symbol of the support of the occupation. You'll see it all around the University of Sussex campus. There's yellow rectangles up in windows, stuck up, showing support, all around the university. They're people who are saying no more, and we've got to say to them, we back you in saying no more. And so why are they in occupation? Well, we've seen the comprehensive failure of the outsourcing model, the dreadful litany, A4E, G4S, and the awful ATOS. Yet somehow the university administration thought they'd just sneak through a privatisation when no one was looking. They told the workers the day that they advertised the contract. But the student occupiers have said no, they're determined, they're there for the long haul, and well done to them. Another group saying no more to great effect is UK Uncut. I'm sure many people in this room took part in their action against Starbucks last year. That fast-growing but mysteriously totally unprofitable coffee chain that infests our high streets and by streets like a particularly pernicious weed. And another group saying no more are the bee campaigners. Just yesterday I was at DEFRA, and Pippa Bartolotti over there, I know, was doing the same thing, presenting a petition, a 41,000 strong petition against the pesticides that are killing our bees from causes.com. The petitioners, the organisers, are saying no more to putting the profits of chemical companies before the health of an essential link in our ecosystem and our food growing. And we in the Green Party say no more too. So many people and groups are saying no more. But sadly, mysteriously, one group that isn't saying no more is the Labour Party. Or maybe it isn't so mysterious, because all that they're offering is more of the same that we had under 13 years of Brown and Blair. We know that it was Labour who championed the light touch regulation of the financial industries that the Tories have only continued. Labour who abandoned all interest in supporting manufacturing and farming and were content to allow the jobs, the cash, the people of Britain to concentrate more and more in the southeast corner of the country. We know that it was Labour who started the marketisation of the NHS that became the privatisation of the NHS. It was Labour who championed the undemocratic academy schools that have morphed into Michael Gove's free schools. It was Labour that dotted the country with immensely expensive, but immensely profitable PFI schemes that today's babies will still be paying for when they are parents. Labour is failing to challenge the government's deeply divisive, deeply corrosive, deeply dishonest strivers versus shirkers rhetoric. We are living in a Britain in which the mistakes, the great errors of the past few decades haven't been properly acknowledged, let alone dealt with, even though they are glaringly obvious. We know the neoliberal model of a globalised economy in which we in Britain specialise in casino banking, arms sales to human rights abusing regimes and pharmaceuticals, while leaving it to the rest of the world to make our goods and grow our foods, has hit the buffers. This model has hit the buffers economically, and it's hit the buffers environmentally. We know that we can't keep living as though we had 3 planet Earths to exploit.